Hopefully everybody had a great week so far. I mean, the week is over. It's Friday, so it's good.
Yeah, good. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. All right. All right. So today we will be still on the lines of job placement assistant, where we started off last week. But we are going to go more in depth today about how to answer interview questions, and then also how to still address some of the myths that we have when it comes to cybersecurity jobs and interviews and stuff like that, right? So it's going to be pretty interesting tonight. So hold tight. We are going to start here time shortly. We still have folks coming in. So we are starting here in a minute. And we are also transmitting on YouTube. So for folks who might not be able to join, or if you go off and you want to, YouTube, that is also a recording is also going to be posted on YouTube once we are done. So we'll begin here in the next minute and a half. All right, everyone, welcome. This is Eretmis Cyber Chat. We do this every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, and you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here to, join the family, improve yourselves, develop yourselves in terms of, gaining more skills and knowledge for your toolbox for your aspiration, or even if you are currently working in the cybersecurity space. Or aspiring cybersecurity professionals. And like I always say, we are going to make it worth your time. So always, as usual, we are going to make sure you are going to gain something out of this. And the time spent with us is not going to go unprofitable, right? So we are starting off. Welcome to Eretmis Academy, if this is your first time. And I'm going to be your facilitator for this. I'm Dr. Emmanuel Edu. My co-pilot, I know Captain AJ is on here. Former United States Army captain. I'm a QSA, PCI, QSA. I'm the CEO of Eretmis Inc., a QSA company based in New York, PCI QSA company, and also a cybersecurity consulting firm. I'm the founder of Eretmis Academy with my co-founder, Captain AJ, and a former professor at University of Maryland Global Campus and CTC. And I love to teach. I love to share the knowledge. I love to interact with and also to help people make or change their lives in the sense of switching careers into cybersecurity, and help to also helping to bridge the career gap in the talent gap in cybersecurity. Right. So that's a lot about myself. Let's move into our agenda for today. So for today, we will be discussing how to answer cybersecurity interview questions. But before we do, like we always do in Cyber Chat, we pick 2 cybersecurity news that is trending, and we will discuss it briefly. But before we do, although 4th of July is over, we are still in Independence Month. Our 4th of July sale ends on the 17th. So I think we have roughly like 9 or 10 days to go, and you enjoy 30% off of all our courses. And I think this is going to be, I'm not pretty sure, don't quote me on that, but the next one probably, I'm not familiar with which other holidays coming up, not just off my head, but for the foreseeable future, the next one I was anticipating probably September or November is when we will run another promotion like this, right? So first news that we are going to discuss is Twitter and Meta. So Facebook, now they are called Meta. I know everybody knows that already. So Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, they are beefing, right? They are not rappers, but they are beefing. IT giants in their beefing. And why is this? So if you are not aware, Meta, which used to be Facebook, they came up with an app that looks similar to Twitter, right? It's called Threads, Thread, as in thread, so Threads. So Threads app, and according to Mr. Max, Meta or Facebook, they copied everything from them, right? So they have Twitter's lawyers have sent a cease and desist letter to Meta, which used to be Facebook, complaining about what we are going to be looking at. So they are accusing Meta's platform of engaging in systematic, willful, unlawful misappropriation of Twitter's trade secrets and intellectual property, right? So I don't know if there's going to be a big court battle that is going to ensue very soon, or this is going to be something that they can settle in-house. But that we are going to leave that for them to really discuss, right? We can only speculate on what is going to go on with this. But when it comes to the fine print to this, is above my pay grade. So these are two huge brands, so they will hash it out, right? But this is one of the trending cybersecurity news. Now let's move into the next one. So the next one is about a ransomware attack that has hit a law firm. So a law firm, I think their name is Law Foundation of Silicon Valley. They've been hit with a ransomware attack all the way back in February, but I think the reporting part of it didn't come about until recently. And the attackers were able to make away with almost 42,000 clients' data, right? So from client staff and others, 42,000 worth of data, which they didn't really specify which type of data, whether credit card, debit card information, PII, and the rest. But if attackers steal your data, that customers' data or clients' data, regardless of how you look at it, is still bad, right? So, and this goes to show that ransomware attack is not going anywhere, and companies, whether you're a law firm, whichever industry that you are in, you have to take cybersecurity seriously, right? And for folks who might not be familiar with, or who really don't know what goes on when it comes to ransomware attacks. So ransomware attack, if you are breaking it down, is a form of malware that attackers use to collect ransom in terms of money from their victims, right? So, back in the day, people will kidnap people and ask for money. Now, with ransomware attack, they are kidnapping your data and they're asking for money. And the funny part is sometimes when you pay the ransom, they don't release your data back to you, right? So that is also a funny twist to this. They can, and what they do with ransomware, they will either just steal the data and ask you to pay the money, or if it's a crypto ransomware hit, they will encrypt all your data and they will ask you to pay, and then they will. Sometimes they are still within decrypted. Yes. So this is also another one in the news. And with that, we are going to move into the main item for tonight. So tonight we are looking at, it's kind of part 2 of what we did last week. So if you're not here last week, we were discussing cybersecurity jobs and how to prepare yourself for cybersecurity jobs, right? And why people fail cybersecurity interviews. I think we talked extensively about it, but tonight we are going to look at how you are going to answer your cybersecurity interview questions, right? So there is a lot of moving parts when it comes to answering cybersecurity interview questions. We are going to first move into mindsets. Mindsets is the beginning of everything, right? There is this saying that if you think you can do it, yes, you are right, you can do it. If you think you cannot do it, yes, you are right, you cannot do it. And the mindset myth myths that we are going to look at here. We are going to look at these, and then we are going to debunk these myths with actual, not just say they don't exist or don't focus on them, but we are really going to prove that all these are not true, right? So one of the biggest myths, for people who want to switch careers into cybersecurity, or all professionals who want to switch careers into cybersecurity with no IT background or prior cybersecurity background, mostly you have that feeling of, you are an outsider. I've never done anything IT. I can barely even use my laptop to do everything that I have to do, right? And I want to get into cybersecurity. Cybersecurity falls directly under IT and is a big, area within IT which focuses on security. So if you are not really good with IT, how are you going to excel in this part of the world? Now, that is a myth. The outsider mentality is real, right? But I'm going to prove to you why the outsider mentality is a myth, right? So we are going to look at all the myths, and then we will discuss them as we are moving forward. Now, the next one is imposter syndrome. Now, this is in every industry, not only in cybersecurity, right? So you don't belong here, the I don't belong here syndrome, right? Even when you do get employed or before you even go to the interview, and most especially for folks who are in IT switching to cybersecurity, you have that feeling of, am I really ready for this? Or, like, do I have what it takes? And for some folks, when they go to interviews and they are given the offer, they are thinking, is this a mistake? Are they going to call me back tomorrow and say, well, we made a mistake. We're going with somebody else, right? I mean, it's like this, or the imposter syndrome is in all industries. But in cybersecurity, is a bit on the higher side because most folks who are switching, they think they don't belong, right? Aside just having the outsider mentality, they think they don't belong. Now, another myth, other candidates are more qualified than myself. So if you are going to an interview, you are anticipating and thinking there are more qualified folks going to the interview than yourself, which we are also going to look at. Not necessarily true, right? Even if they want to move on with somebody else, that doesn't necessarily mean the person was more qualified than you in every aspect, right? So many things go into that, statement that they put in the email. Hey, we are moving on with another candidate. Doesn't mean you are not qualified or everybody was, or the person they chose was more qualified than you. So much goes into that, right? Now, the next one that we are going to look at, which is a huge one that almost everybody trying to get into cybersecurity will complain about, is lack of cybersecurity working experience. And this, you might be thinking, okay, so how do you get around that? I've done the training, I've done everything, but I don't have the working experience to prove to folks who are interviewing me or my hiring manager, the company who wants to hire me, that I can do the job. Now, we are going to discuss that also as well. And then also, there is this myth that during cybersecurity interviews, or even during all interviews in general, right? If the interviewer, holds a casual conversation with you and you are going back and forth, don't think it's a casual conversation. Most people think it doesn't mean anything. It's not going to be part of whatever they are going to use to assess you. Everything is in play. Just have that in mind. We are going to discuss more into that, but if you go into an interview, everything is in play. So whether it's a casual conversation, whether it's about babies or it's about soccer or it's about football, everything is in play, right? So, and then also the last one that we are going to look at is some people believe they are really good at interviews. You might be, but when it comes to cybersecurity interviews, you have to sit up, right? I think Brian's last 2 weeks or 3 weeks was, alluding to this. He said he's a really good interviewer in his field that he was in. I mean, he will do at least 1 or 2 interviews and he will get the job. This time around, he had to do 7, right? So if you're going in with that mindset of I'm a good interviewer, like I'm good at interviews, you are going to be in for a run for your money, right? So now, how are we going to debunk all these myths? So we are going to take them one after the other. And I'm actually going to prove, right, not from things that Dr. Edu is just saying, but I'm actually going to prove with documents from government side and all other areas. Now, the outsider mentality. I'm an outsider coming into cybersecurity. It's false, because guess what? Everybody is in cybersecurity. And why is everybody in cybersecurity? We all practice cybersecurity daily. If you are not a cybersecurity professional, making security policies or implementing multi-factor authentication and the rest, you are either the one making it or you are the one using it. So either or you are in it, you are part of it. So there is nothing like you are coming from the outside. Now, when you sit in a cybersecurity class and you are being taught the different concepts and theories, there's a lot of aha moments for almost everybody, because cybersecurity is not some theory that is being taught. It's something that we live every day. Your cell phone has multi-factor authentication on it. If you go to your bank's website, they will send you a PIN on your phone and you have to type that in. If you're not in cybersecurity, you might not understand why they are putting all these extra, hurdles your way. But once you sit in a cybersecurity class, now it makes sense, right? So you've been living it and practicing it. So if you've been taught what all these measures of, or all these layers of authentication are, why, and you have to help apply this in a company, why do you feel like an outsider? You've been living this the whole time, right? So you've been living in the cybersecurity world for the whole time. Now with imposter syndrome and other candidates are more qualified than you, and lack of working cybersecurity experience, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to share another screen and we are going to discuss that. Right? So as we are going along, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chats. We will address that as we are moving on. So please hold on. Make sure my screen is ready. Yes, and it is ready. All right, so the first thing that I want us to look at is I'm going to discuss this and then we'll move back into the imposter syndrome and all of it. But I'm answering these questions with actual facts, right? Not just something that I'm just saying. Now with the imposter syndrome and I don't belong, and I'm new to this, am I really qualified? If there is an emergency, right? In world politics and around the world, if there is a military emergency, there is a world war, and we are in need of soldiers, whether you're a medical doctor or you're a farmer, we are going to train you for some 12 weeks, and we are going to hand you a weapon and ship you out to go fight, right? Sometimes we don't even have the luxury of prepping you to go fight, right? So on the other side, although we are not in a physical war, we are in a digital war, right? Not with between countries. I mean, between countries is on the down low. Everybody's pretending like they are not doing anything, but everybody's, spying and trying to hack into everybody's something, right? In terms of countries and even corporate, side is still the same. So looking at it from attackers' point of view and for everybody else, we are in a state of emergency when it comes to cybersecurity and soldiers to defend the cybersecurity space or the cyberspace. And why are we in an emergency? We are just looking at the United States, right? Now, this website is CyberSeek. Most folks, if you've been, to Cyber Chat a couple of times, you will probably know this. And CyberSeek is not a website designed by Eretmis Academy or Dr. Edu. This is a website that falls under NIST and Department of Commerce. So the government has a hand in this. Then they track cybersecurity job openings in real time, right? So if this is your first time of seeing this, you can take a look at this once we are done. It's called cyberseek.org. Now, why am I saying we are in a state of emergency? We just saw in the cyber news that the company was breached, and this is just one of many companies that were breached on that day, right? And guess what? Now, how many cybersecurity job openings do we have in the United States as of today? 663,000, right? This number, just without comparing it to anything, although it's huge, there's a huge, gap that has to be filled. We need girls and guys to fill this space, to fill this vacancy, right? In the United States. Around the world is like, I think 2.5 million cybersecurity job openings. Now, look at how many cybersecurity jobs that have been filled already. Million plus. We still need 600 plus. I think last month it was almost 700 and it was growing. Sometimes it comes down a little bit and it's going to shoot up again. Now I'm building a point, right? Let's go down here. Look at the historical supply and demand for cybersecurity professionals. From 2010 to 2023, the supply and demand, right? The supply been going down and the demand has been going up. So if you, as you can see, we are going downhill, which is really bad because it doesn't look like schools, colleges, and training institutes and governments, it doesn't look like they are doing a good job of producing more cybersecurity professionals. Right. So we are in need. We have this job opening there, and the trend from 2010 up till now, the trend is going down in terms of how many cybersecurity professionals we are producing. It is going down, right? So why is it going down? The more we produce, the demand keeps getting bigger than how quick we're able to produce more cybersecurity professionals. But when I say we are in a state of emergency when it comes to the cyberspace, we definitely are. And because of that, you don't need to have a degree in cybersecurity. You don't need to have been working in cybersecurity for 7 years or 20 years, depending on where you want to start, right? Everything that traditionally you would have needed or they would have, expected you to have before you can get into the cybersecurity industry, you don't now because of the situation we are in, right? So don't feel like I'm an outsider, I'm an imposter, is this 4 months of training going to help me? Is it? Well, some training, we will talk about training. Some are questionable, but if you have a fairly good training, 3 weeks, 3 months should be enough, right? When you go to basic training in the military, from civilian to a military girl or guy, it takes only 3 months. And they don't expect you to be an expert in anything after the 3 months, right? You can barely shoot. Maybe you are a bit fit, physically fit than when you came in, but they don't expect you to be, built like Arnold Schwarzenegger by the time you are done with basic training. They don't expect you to be the most sought after military expert, right? But 3 months still does the job, right? They go through 3 months, they go through and do further training on whatever field that they chose. So specialize in something. Then they are off, we ship them off, and they still go and execute and work, right? So I'm trying to build your mindset for you to understand what is going on. So don't let anybody fool you and tell you, you need a degree and you need to have done this, you need to have done that. Certifications, they are all good, but we are drowning. So anything that can help and save us, any small effort, we will accept. Hopefully everybody gets that point. Now you can also look at this statistics here. If you look at the the historical cybersecurity job openings from 2010, it was here. This is, historically 2010, it was here. As you can see, it is growing. The demand is growing. The job openings is growing, right? And it's projected to keep growing. The demand obviously is high, supply is low. This is supply is going down here. right? So if you are doing everything, you take the right training, you are doing just the bare minimum, you are going to get a job because they need to fill this space and they need to fill it fast, right? So hopefully, and when you come down here, you can break it down into how many certifications, like in terms of jobs that are open per certifications and stuff like that, right? But when it comes to certifications, also, you don't necessarily need certifications to start. Certifications are good. If you have a degree in cybersecurity, is good, but you don't need a degree in cybersecurity or a degree in anything for that matter to start working in the cybersecurity space. Now I've built a point, right? Hopefully everybody was able to follow and you get what I'm trying to get at. Now we are going to come back to these pages again. Now, before we move from here, I want us to address another thing, right? When it comes to working experience, I don't have any working experience or I don't have any experience coming into cybersecurity or any skill that applies to cybersecurity. Now, if you've never taken any training in cybersecurity, you don't know anything in cybersecurity. Let's say you can't even spell cybersecurity. I guarantee you have some skills already that are needed in cybersecurity. So don't sell yourself short and say, just follow what people are just saying and say, I don't have any experience or I have no working experience in cybersecurity. You do. I don't know you, but I can tell you do. And why am I saying that? Now let's look at something. Also, something that wasn't created by Dr. Edu or Eretmis, right? This website is careeronestop.org. It's powered by the government or a government agency of some sort. Now they have something that this is the go-to when it comes to all careers in the United States. They have something that they call competency models, and they've built one for cybersecurity, right? So cybersecurity competency model for our entry-level students. And I think even for the free course, we kind of touch on the competency model, the cybersecurity competency model. So things that we teach and that we try to, inform you of is not something that we create. They are facts, right? So now let's read this briefly. I'm going to read through this briefly just to give us a background of who or how this competency model was built, right? So cybersecurity competency model, it says the Employment and Training Administration, ETA, worked with the Department of Homeland Security and more than 20 federal departments and agencies that make up the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, NICE, to develop a comprehensive competency model for the cybersecurity workforce. Technical and subject matter experts from education, business, and industry also contributed to the model's development. So everybody knows where this is coming from, the cybersecurity competency model, right? Now, the cybersecurity competency model defines the latest skills and knowledge required, the latest skills and knowledge requirements needed by individuals whose activities impact the security of organizations' cyberspace, right? So I'm not going to read the rest. Now let's go and look at the cybersecurity competency model. So if you want to work in the cybersecurity space, these are the skills that you have to be competent in. And once I'm done with this, I think I'll rest my case on this one. So now today is like we are in court. We are debunking, let's say, allegations and accusations, or in this case, myths, right? Myth that some people or some folks are peddling. Right now, I'm not the one who created this competency model, and we all know where this is coming from. Very reliable sources, right? Now, these are the skills that you have to be competent in, knowledge and skills requirements for cybersecurity. They have it in tiers. They have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and tier 5, right? Now, with tier 1, what does it say? Personal effectiveness competencies. So you need to have interpersonal skills, integrity, professionalism, initiative, adaptability, flexibility, lifelong learning. You have to be a lifelong learner. So if you have any of these, Are you going to tell me now you don't have any skills and knowledge needed in cybersecurity? I leave that to you. Right now, let's go to the next one. Academic competencies, tier 2. Reading, writing, math, science and technology, communication, critical thinking, and fundamental IT user skills. Everybody who was able to log on to this chat has fundamental IT user skills. And everybody on here is able to communicate. At least you've worked in a space where you've used all of these. Everybody on here can read and write. You can do some math, right? It's not like you're going to be doing math in cybersecurity, right? But this is what they came up with in terms of tier 2. Now, let's go to tier 3. Workplace competencies. Skills and knowledge you need when it comes to the workplace in cybersecurity, what you have to be proficient in terms of skills. So it says teamwork, planning and organizing, creative thinking, problem solving and decision making, working with tools and technology, business fundamentals, health and safety. I mean, this is not Dr. Edu saying, right? Now let's go to tier 4. So tier 4 is cybersecurity technology, information assurance, risk management, incident detection, incident response, and remediation. Now, this is more cybersecurity technical. Let's go to tier 5. So tier 5, we are looking at the 7 major categories in cybersecurity, right? So you have to have a good working knowledge and skill of these as well. So we have 5 tiers. I can assure you that from tier 1 to tier 3, you probably have almost all of it. So are you still going to tell me you don't have any skills and knowledge coming into cybersecurity? You do. Now, let me, finish, or like, let me really buttress my point. Let's look at some job descriptions and see if any of these are in the skills that they are looking for people they want to employ in cybersecurity. Now, hopefully everybody can still see my screen. I'm just going to switch from tab to tab. Now, this was just a quick search on Indeed, and Indeed is by no means the only job board that you can find cybersecurity jobs. And this, we just typed in cybersecurity. We limited it to 35 miles within New York, and this is what we came up with, right? So this is the results that came up. Now, there is a whole list of it, but we are going to look at individual ones that we picked out, right? I think let's go to the next page. So the point that I was trying to make, and also buttressing the competency model that we just looked at, right? This is a senior information security analyst gig. Salary is 100 to 150. Certificate, skills. Now let's move down to the list for the skills. Let me see if, okay, let's move down to the list. So if you go through what you take on, mostly this is what you do, right? If you go down this list, you will see that everything that is in tier 1 to 3, most of it, this makes up like tier 1 to 3 makes almost like 60% of this list. But let's just go straight down to the skills you are looking for. So what you bring, right? We can go through the years of experience, blah, 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 and all that, move all the way down. Now I'm just looking for tier 1 to 3 on the competency model. So mostly after they've listed all the cybersecurity, the actual cybersecurity working knowledge that you need, right after that, you have all the tier 1 to 3. So look at this: excellent verbal and written communication, planning, analysis, and organizing skills. You should be able to articulate. You should be a good communicator, demonstrating mastery of both speaking and written English. Ability to deliver. Okay, so this is still going to the same point. Strong project management skills, strong critical thinking skills, ability to quickly comprehend problems and develop hypotheses and draw logical conclusions. Now, if all of these skills and knowledge and skills requirements, if these were not important, why do they have it as part of the skills set that they are looking for, right? And if you look at it, like look at this, if you are just looking at it, the actual technical cybersecurity in-depth understanding of, okay, actual technical cybersecurity skills and knowledge they are looking for is almost the same as the soft skills they are looking for. So if, let's say, we are rating the whole entire skills and knowledge base they are looking for to be 100%, you have 50% already without even doing anything in cybersecurity, right? And I'm going to tell you for a fact, on the job, guess what is going to help you on the job to really do your job is this right here. Your technical skills and all that is good. But if you're a really bad communicator, you have really bad interpersonal skills, you don't have strong critical thinking skills, because in cybersecurity, and this is also to buttress the I don't belong here syndrome, even for people who've been working in cybersecurity for years, there is always going to be a problem that is going to come up that they have no clue what is going on. Everybody will have to start from zero to try to solve the problem. So who is the imposter here, or like who belongs there, right? So this clearly really, throws all those mindsets out of the window, right? So hopefully this makes sense to everybody. Right. Now let's move on. Any questions on these before we move on? All right, we are going to go back to our slides. And hopefully my screen is still visible to everyone.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I think there's a hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question, like as you explained, is quite clear, but I'm just want to ask, like during the interview, is there any skills that you need to know? Maybe they're going to ask you like, tell me about yourself, about cybersecurity or something like that.
So we are going to get there, right?
Okay.
We are gradually building a point, so we will get there. Teresa, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I raised my hands on mistake.
Okay, all right then. We are going to move. All right, so what are the right mindsets that you need, or the right mindset that you need going into this? I think with the outsider mentality, we've squashed that, right? Kofi, I'm going to have you, like, once we've gone through this, I'll have you ask a question. With the imposter syndrome, we've also squashed that, right? Other candidates are more qualified. We've also kind of squashed that, because regardless, let's say Dr. Edo has been in cybersecurity for all this long, we are going to the same interview, right? Chances, even if you don't know me, you might be thinking, or you know me, might be thinking, well, I mean, with all that he knows, he might probably get a job, and I'm not going to get it. Now, how do you know, right? So we have one student who went to an interview. After the interview, he was told that there were two, like they shortlisted, they were the last two standing. Noah, I'm not sure if Noah is here today. Noah has been working as a security professional for the past, I think, almost 2 years now. Now, they said they were choosing, like the position was just for one person, right? The other person was more qualified than Noah. But guess what? They still chose Noah in addition to that person, because they were like, well, you are that good, we are not going to let you go. But they were just looking for one person, so why didn't they just let Noah go? So, and that person that they chose over Noah, that they actually selected for that position, they were looking for a cybersecurity professional who was more knowledgeable about API this person was doing a similar job, and he was doing like a similar job like what he was applying for. He's been doing it for the past 5 to whatever years, right? Nowhere is new to cybersecurity. No IT background, nothing, zero. But how was he able to go head to head with somebody who is doing the same job, right? And all these other folks who applied, probably some of whom have been working in security for a while. Why was it able to go head to head with them to the point where they are like, you know what, we are going to create a position for you? So don't sell yourself short, right? And say other candidates are more qualified than me. But still, there's a caveat to this. If you've not really polished up on your skills, even with the soft skills that you are bringing to the table, if you've not polished up on it, you don't have a strategy answering your interview questions and all that, they are not going to choose you, but it's not because somebody is more qualified than you, it's because you are not prepared, right? So this is also a myth. Now, lack of working cybersecurity experience. This we've also squashed, because if like what we just saw, the competency model let us know that from tier 1 to tier 3, everybody should have that already. Not even not all of it, most of it, or at least half of it. So that counts towards your working experience in cybersecurity. If you're a manager in your previous job for the past 10 years, and you are going to be a manager in cybersecurity, how different is that? Going to be still human beings that you are going to manage. Human beings, we are the same. Same, you know, like in the army, I always told my junior leaders that in the army is we are the whole entire army is made up of like only 5 people or 6, maybe 6, right? You will see them at every station that you go to with different name tags, right? So same characters, same behavior, different names. What I'm trying to say is human beings, we don't change. We are the same, like we have the same traits. So if you were a manager in Starbucks and somebody wasn't showing up to work on time every time, you think when you come to cybersecurity is going to be any different? Same thing is what you're going to be. So how you dealt with it over there, you can use similar skill sets to be able to deal with it here as well, right? So I think that point is well made. Don't sell yourself short, or don't get into that space of I don't have any working experience. Most people focus on, they think your working experience should only be on technical side. You know, you should have worked in the cybersecurity paid position, right? And also they are just focusing on the technical cybersecurity knowledge and skill you need. That is not all of it, because if that is all that they are looking for in the job description that we saw, there were a couple of job descriptions over there, but because of time, all of it, just do your own research. There's a whole list of tier 1 to 3 competencies that they are looking for on there. So that means it is dear to them. It's equally important as the technical skills, as the technical cybersecurity knowledge and skills that they are looking for. So don't say you don't have. When people talk to me and say, yeah, I'm not getting the interviews because I don't have any working experience, that is not true. It means you are doing something wrong, but you don't know what is going on. Now, casual conversations. During interviews, everything is in play. So if you came to an interview and Dr. Edu is just asking you about, you know, where your kids go to school and which is like, what is your favorite like hockey team? And don't think it's just some casual conversation. It might look like it, but it's actually not a casual conversation, because you are not my friend, right? And I didn't just book the interview with you just to talk about what is going on in the world and politics and whatever else that I want to talk about. My time is equally precious to me, like your time is precious to you as well. So if you are there and you think we are BSing, we are not. Maybe you think we are BSing, but I'm reading you on something. So I don't think casual conversations during interviews, they are just innocent conversations, because they are not, right? And I made this example last week. We had, I think there was a cyber chat like this. One of our students went to an interview. They really didn't do the interview, or they didn't even talk about cybersecurity, because the lady was just asking him about his school and what he's doing, and why he moved from the state he was at to where he's at now. And it's just some normal casual conversation. And then she just ended the conversation. It took the whole 15-30 minutes scheduled for the conversation, and she told him, hey, we are going to follow up with you. The next interview, we are going to send you an email to go to the next one. So he was thinking, I mean, this is easy. All my preparation is going to be for the next one. And then next, he receives an email. We are moving on with another candidate. And he was furious. She didn't ask me anything. No, she did. She actually did. But because you had your guard down, right? And people who do the interview, like HR and the rest, they are good. They are really good. They will make you comfortable and have you, have your guard down. And that is where they get you, right? So it's not like whoever got the job was more qualified or knows something special or they are special. Probably they had more skills and tips and tricks going into it than you, right? So that is why you are here and we are doing this. Now this is a big eye-opener for almost everybody, right? And the last one that we are going to debunk here is, or what the antidote for this is going to be, I'm good at interviews. No, you are not, right? I don't care how many interviews that you've done that was 1-for-1. You are not, right? Tell yourself that, and that will help you to really not to underestimate your opponent. And your opponent here is whoever interview you. So in the military or in any warfare, the last thing that you want to do is to be complicit. Is to be so sure that you can, beat your opponent with your eyes closed. That is how you get defeated. Right? And you're going to get defeated with something very little or small, right? So with cybersecurity interviews, mostly you go to at least three interviews, right? At least three, in a row. So you go to the first one, it might be maybe half and half, technical, non-technical. The next one will be soft skills, purely soft skills, right? The next one might be a mixture of both also as well, right? So it depends on how, what really the organization is looking for. I've seen, in so many instances where people got a job not because of their cybersecurity knowledge and skills, but they got a job because of their tier 1 to 3 knowledge and skills they were bringing to the table. So for interviews, you are going to, for most industries or other industries, maybe 1 or 2 interviews you'll be good. Here, you have to go through at least 3 or 4, right? So, and sometimes you can go to an hour-and-a-half interview, right? We have all 4 people there, and we call it rapid fire. They will just be throwing questions at you, or they will schedule it where you do an interview, 30 minutes with this person, 30 minutes with that person, 30 minutes, and it's going to be back to back, right? Same day. So regardless of whatever your interview experience has been, cybersecurity interviews, they are going to humble you, right? If you're not already humble coming into it. All right, so now we've debunked all these mindset myths that we have out there. Now let's go into some of the common interview mistakes. I think last week we kind of maybe mentioned 1 or 2 of these, but before we do, I'm going to have Kofi ask his question that he had, if he still want to ask his question, or maybe if I answer that.
Well, I think you touched on it in one of your explanations. You were giving a scenario about Noah situation, and the JD you show had 5 years of experience that they were requiring. And that scenario you just explained about the guy that had the 5-year experience who was interviewing with Noah. I believe Noah had no 0 or 1 experience, 1-year experience going in, and he was able to get selected. So I think you answered the question partly there. I had the question: how do someone with a 0 or no year of experience measure themselves on the JD that are requiring 5 years? So
okay, Okay, great. So I'm also going to address that question again, right? That is one of the questions that kind of, boggles people's mind, or people are kind of stuck when it comes to that. Now, when we saw on the job description, the skill sets or the knowledge and skill requirements they were looking for, if they were 10, right? I'll say for the one that we just saw, almost 5 out of the 10 was soft skills that you could have acquired from anywhere. And then 5 of it was cybersecurity knowledge and skills, right? Now, when it comes to experience, they are looking for 5 years of experience in all 10 items, not just the 5 cybersecurity items. I hope everybody gets that point.
Yes, that is a complete, clear distinction. You made an eye opener with that statement alone. Thank you.
Yes. So most folks, they think, oh, people are lying on their resume and saying they have 3 years of experience. So if you've been a manager for, let's say, 20 years, and you are coming into a cybersecurity role that requires 3 years, and in the job description, everything that you've done, right, half of it is on there, and then the other half is cybersecurity knowledge and skill, which you have a little of, or maybe like an average. You are average when it comes to the knowledge and skill they are looking for. Are you going to say you have 0 experience? Really? I mean, because if the soft skills they placed it, if they don't need it, what, like, do they just want to waste space? Or why don't they just take it off? Because for the jobs that we saw, right, if you post a job on Indeed, it's not free. And the more real estate you take, in terms, like, the more space you take, the more you pay. So why list a bunch of nonsense stuff on there that you don't need the candidate to have, right? So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. If it's on there, then they need it. So if you have 20 years of experience in that, or 10 years, and they are looking for 2 years experience in total for 10 items, and you have 5 already, are you going to tell me you have 0 because you feel you don't belong in cyber, or you are switching to cybersecurity, so it's just everything is just technical? No, it is not, right? So look at it from that angle. So from today going forward, some of you have 5 years of experience working in cybersecurity already. Some. So mostly for us, for our students, right? We will look at you like we don't just do one size fits all. When we do one-on-one with you, we will look at what you've done, your soft skills you are bringing, and we can eyeball and say, okay, for you, we can comfortably say with this job description, maybe you are good for you to say you have the 4 years of experience, because aside the soft skill side, you still have the cybersecurity knowledge and skill to back it up, right? And 2, we'll take you through internship. So for the projects they are looking for, you've worked on almost all of it. So you see how we're able to bridge that working experience, the space. If you have somebody who knows what they are doing, they can comfortably guide you and make you very successful in this space. But if you don't know what you're doing, then you're thinking, I really have to work as a cybersecurity something to say I have 5 years or 6 years or 10 years of experience. Now, with that being said, you have to also look at the job that you're applying to, right? If, regardless of how much soft skills that you have bringing to the table, if you're applying to a penetration tester job and the job title is senior penetration tester, you are going to be in charge of, all these penetration test projects that is going on. Please don't apply and think they are only going to use your soft skills, right? Because the penetration testing skill set you are bringing is also very needed from day one, right? And for folks who are trying to get into cybersecurity, who think penetration testing and ethical hacking is sexy, so they want to go that route, good luck, because it's going to take you a while to really be able to be on your own to do anything, right? Unless, of course, maybe the gig that you're going to get doesn't really involve much, and you're not doing any serious penetration testing, right? But you can get in other areas that you'll be able to utilize your soft skills more, and then probably build yourself up, on the penetration testing side, if that is what you solely desire to do in life, to the point where you'll be able to, function. And because the last thing you want to do is to go and crash an entire production line, right? Go and crash like a company's network, and then you are there stuck, don't know what you are doing, right? So now they have to call in a real penetration tester to come and save the day. So last thing you want to do. So there's a caveat to all of this, but in general terms, if you are going on the blue side of the house, anything, analyze, whatever, if you are not doing anything offensive, your soft skills count more. Even on the penetration testing side, still don't get it wrong. You're going to be doing a lot of report writing, right? So if your communication, written and verbal, is weak, you are still not good, regardless of how much technical skills you have in penetration testing. You are not going to excel in that field, right? And a lot also goes into it in terms of soft skills. So I mean, that is also going to be another day. We can have that discussion some other day, right? Now, let's move on. So let's look at some of the common cybersecurity interview mistakes, right? Now, the very first one, obviously, lack of preparation. So you think you are good. You are just, looking at things and eyeballing them and think you can answer them. You're a good talker. You are good. It is going to humble you. Lack of proper preparation leads into practice or rehearsing your questions, right? Rehearsing your questions and practice. We talked about that last week, and some folks were asking, how do you rehearse? How do you practice? We discussed all that. You can rehearse by yourself. So you read a question, you answer it, you read it, you talk yourself through it, right? That does something to your brain and to your whole being, because now, if you are making mistakes or if you are talking in circles, you catch yourself and then you start making notes. Okay, when I ask myself this, I'm going to talk about A, B, C, D. The example that we used, so before I get ahead of myself, we are going to really look at how to tackle these common mistakes, right? Best practices. So I was getting too much into the best practices. Now, the next one is answering interview questions. So answering interview questions is a skill. Mostly what I tell our students is having the technical knowledge, skills, having the soft skills, they are all good, but the skill to be able to present what you know to somebody for them to really believe and know that you know what you know, that is a different ball game altogether, right? And that is what, interviews are, that is what you are going to display during your interview. So you have the technical skills, you have the soft skills. How are you going to demonstrate that through communication for somebody to know that, yes, you can actually do the job, right? Or for them to believe and be comfortable enough and say, you are the right choice. Because whoever is choosing you, remember, their job is also on the line, right? So if Dr. Edo is the recruiter for your company, and I recruited Kofi, I recruited John, I recruited Brian, and every recruit or every person that I recruited, the next 3 months you have to fire them because they didn't, they couldn't perform, or they were not showing up to work on time, or they had a problem of some sort. Now, how does that make me look as a recruiter? Terrible. And the next person to be fired would be me, right? So as a recruiter, my picks are going to determine whether I stay as a recruiter with that company or not. So they have their own interests also at heart, right? That is first and foremost for recruiters and hiring managers before the company's interest. So if you are able to demonstrate and convince them, then it means that you have mastered the skill of being able to present what you know in a more favorable way. Now, then another common mistake is lack of understanding of exactly what is expected of you. So most people go into it, probably they just practice with some general cybersecurity questions that they found online, and they just go to the interview without actually tailoring their questions and answers to the job description. You might think this is crazy, but some people do it, right? And even with the job description, you can look at it all day. If you don't know or understand what they are looking for, you don't. You can look at definitions, Google some of it, and look at definitions and stuff online and understand what it's about. But to be able to really articulate and let them know that you know what you're talking about is a different thing altogether, right? So, like, what are they expecting of you for that position? And sometimes what they're expecting is not explicitly stated in the job description, right? But if you read it and you have that eye, you'll be able to, okay, so this is, if I ask you, what is the one thing that you need, even if you don't do anything in this job, what is the one thing that you have to do for this job? That is what you should ask yourself. What is that one thing that they are looking for you to do? So, and that will really, expose all the other things that you have to do. So the expectation, what they expect of you, if you know that really well, that is going to translate into the answers that you give them. Right? Now, lack of research and attention to detail in the write-up for the job description, and this is very common. I know you are applying for 200 jobs a day, and they are randomly calling you. Some are not going to call. Some will send you emails to, hey, you have an interview, and you are doing like 5 or 6 interviews a week. But what our advice is, attention to detail is one of the critical soft skills in cybersecurity. So if you're not paying attention, then what if you get employed and probably you have to look at some vulnerability scans every other day? And it's like you have to look at maybe some Nmap scans or some vulnerability, and it's a whole catalog of, like, a whole list of it, right? You are going to skip a lot of it because your attention to detail skill set is really 0 to nothing, right? It's like maybe 10% to 0, right? So attention to detail starts here during your interviews. So on the job description, most people, the last thing you want to do is you go to an interview, hey, what do you know about that company? And you are there stuck. You don't know. Even if you didn't do the research on every job description, they first start with talking about the company, giving some little bio about the company. So if you're actually reading it and you are not just jumping straight to the job description to see what is in there and to apply for it, you will know. So that goes into research and also paying attention to detail. And then also there is nothing on the job description that they should ask you that you shouldn't be able to talk about. You don't have to have used it or know it, right? But let's say there is a framework on there that you've like, this is the first time that you are seeing that framework, right? Some maybe random framework, and they ask you, what is your experience with this? Don't say, I don't know. I talked about this last week. At least, I know maybe PCI DSS is about ABCD. I've not really used it myself, but I know this is what the intent behind it. You've talked sensibly about it. And that is, it's not just what you are saying that really matters. They can train you on that, if they want to, but at least that shows that you've done your research, right? And that is also a skill that is needed, right? So that can go to help you on the soft skills as well. And the last thing that we are going to look at as common mistakes, not speaking the language of the hiring manager or the interviewer. And we discussed this last week. So we are going to skip and move to some of the best practices. And now after this, we are going to look at how to actually answer the questions, some of the ways that you have to use to answer the questions. So best practices, practice, practice, and practice, and practice again. Rehearse your answers. And with the questions, you can develop your own questions. And we will talk about how you'll be able to develop your own questions. We will do a demonstration of how you'll be able to develop your own questions, right? And speak to, and then also what exactly are they looking for? Most people go, especially for folks, not even for folks who are switching to cybersecurity, but for folks in general, right? Don't go to interviews trying to define and explain concepts if they don't specifically ask you to do so, right? What they are looking for is practically how are you going to do this? Or practically how does this apply to anything? Okay. So if you are looking at the practical aspect of it, the hands-on aspect of it, how it's done. That should be the mindset moving into interviews, right? So the next best practice, proper preparation, and that we are going to talk about all that in our next slide, and developing good interviewing skills. And that is only going to come through practice. And then also through interviewing, right? There are some jobs that obviously is way above your head, you're not going to get. Still apply for it anyways. If they call you for interview, do not refuse or reject any interview. Even if you've gotten a job already, still take the interview. Because guess what? You are developing good interviewing skills. And for all you know, probably you think, this is not it, but you interview and they give you the job. You never know, right? I like in cyber chat like this, I keep stressing, and to our students, I keep telling them, hey, even if you have a job, keep applying and interviewing for fun. Right? Michael went around playing around interviews for fun, and he got a second job. He wasn't looking. Frankly, he was just applying and interviewing for fun. I've seen 2 students do that. Like, one wasn't even our student, but she kind of is not our student, not a paid student, but she's been through almost all cyber chats, and she got a job through that, right? Now she was interviewing for fun, got another job, right? So developing interviewing skills comes from also interviewing, doing the actual interview itself. So you can prepare all day. If you don't fight, you wouldn't know how best your preparation is. So don't shy away from interviews. Don't be scared. Like I keep telling everybody, what is the worst case scenario if you go to the interview and you don't do so well? For yourself, I mean, you feel down, you feel whatever, but like what is the worst thing that they can do to say they are moving on with somebody else? But why are you shying away from that? If that is going to build you for your dream cybersecurity job or whatever other jobs that you are going to be applying for. Now, understand exactly what they are expecting of you. So that means that take your time and read the job description. Don't be in a hurry. I get it. You are just randomly applying to so many jobs. Now, the moment that they send you an email requesting an interview, go back, look for that job that you applied for, and take your time and read through the job description, or read through like the job post, like you are preparing for your finals, right, for school. Take your time and read through it. That is how, and prepare for it as if they are going to pay you $1 million when you do get a job, right? Because if you treat it that way, that is how you're able to get a cybersecurity job in record time. Now, research and paying attention to detail, I cannot stress on that enough. I think I talked extensively about that in the other slide. And speaking the interviewer, the hiring manager's language, I kind of spoke a little bit about this, right? Like what I said was that maybe if you paid attention, if you're a hiring manager and everybody you are hiring is being fired, if you hire at least 3 people and they all get fired, the 4th person to get fired is going to be you, because you're a bad hiring manager. So guess what? During interviews, whoever is interviewing you, or whoever is going to sign off on you that you are good, they are putting their job on the line, right? So what language is that person going to speak? They are looking at how well you are going to help them keep their job. And 2, how well you are going to help the company move from point A to point B in terms of what they are looking for. So the language they are speaking is how you are going to help them look good in front of their boss. And then also, how are you going to help the company be more secure, right? So everything that you are speaking has to be in line with what they want to hear, because that is their language. So if you are there and they ask you, why do you want to work for a company? And the next thing that you're talking about is because it's going to be a good career move for you. It's going to help you develop your skills as a security professional. It's going to, now it's all about you. You think they really care about you? It really doesn't care. There are like 12 or 15 more people that he has to interview. So you are, at that point, you are just wasting his afternoon. Like he's just going to move on with somebody else because you are not speaking his language. Everything you are doing, he's nodding. But like I'm telling you, HR is really good. Really, they are just going to smile with you the whole time. And in their head, they know you are just talking nonsense, right? And move on with the next person. It's like playing poker. They don't have to show, that you are doing well or you are not. And if you do really bad, I mean, they don't even have to say it. If you couldn't answer the last 3 questions they asked you, what do you expect? They are just going to smile and say, okay, so better luck next time, and then move on. So this is the language they speak. How are you going to help them to look good in front of their boss? How are you going to help their company stay secure if they are employing you to be a security professional, right? So everything that you are saying and doing during the interview should be speaking to that. Now, they are not going to ask you this question directly, but all answers you are giving to questions they are asking, they are inferring from answers you are giving. Your posture, your demeanor, how you are coming off. Are you somebody who is reliable? Are you somebody who really knows what he's talking about? So all that is playing into it. So they are using partly their training in their own human instincts, right? So make sure you are speaking their language. Now we are going to move into how to answer interview questions itself. So answering interview questions effectively, it requires a combination of skill sets that you need to be able to really articulate your thoughts clearly, because you can know how to do something, explaining it to somebody is going to be, a different thing, right? You can know how to ride a bicycle. If I ask you to explain it to me and you are unable to explain it to me, although it's true you can ride a bike, but to me, you can't ride a bike. So I'll move on with somebody else, right? So probably whoever I'm going to move on with can really articulate how to ride a bike, but he has never ridden a bike in his life. And I'm still going to take him. Because guess what? The 2 agendas that I have as a hiring manager is to convince myself that this person that I'm going with is, 1, going to help me keep my job, and 2, will be able to help the company. So if they're able to convince me, even though they don't know what they are doing, that is what, like, the feel he's getting, and you are speaking to my language, so I'm going to let that person, have the job. Now, the other person would have been the best, but he couldn't really articulate his thoughts clearly. So, right, people who are less qualified than you will always get a job if you can articulate clearly your technical knowledge and skill you are bringing to the table. So that is a skill that you have to learn. And you don't have to really do anything super to be able to have that skill set. If you follow what we are going to discuss now, I think you should be good. So tips for answering your interview questions. The first thing is research common interview questions within the space you are applying for. So if you are applying a whole list of cybersecurity analyst jobs, there are some common cybersecurity analyst questions that cuts across, right? Those are general cybersecurity analyst questions. So you can get those and start practicing on your own. Now, if you want to, so you might be thinking, so how do I know the answers I'm giving is right or wrong? For that, you have to find somebody with the know-how, right? Or do your own research about, maybe, let's say if maybe you want to be a security analyst, and as part of the general questions, they are asking you what are the different types of SIM tools that are out there, and which ones are you familiar with, right? There's no right or wrong answer to this, but if you tell me you use Nmap as a SIM tool, then I know you don't know what you're talking about. Right? So you can just do your research and come up. And also you can go ahead and download free versions of any SIM tool that is out there, practice with it. Now you can even speak more intelligently about it because you've used it. Right? Your experience in using anything doesn't have to be a paid experience. Right? If you know how to use Microsoft Excel at home and nobody has ever paid you for it, if it's a requirement on a job, are you going to say you have experience or you don't have experience? Because nobody paid you for it, are you going to say, I mean, I can use it, but I really don't have an experience because it's not a paid experience. We are not looking for paid experience, right? If you know how to use it, you know how to use it, because it's exactly the same way you are going to use it on the job. If they want you to use it in a different way, they are going to show you, but at least you have to go in there knowing how to use it, right? So research common interview questions, and this is going to help you at least lay that foundation, right? And after you've researched common interview questions, the next step is to tailor your interview questions to the job that you are going for the interview for, right? And we will discuss that here. We will do a practical demonstration for everybody to see. Now, understand the question before you answer. The last thing you want to do is to answer the question if you didn't hear it well. And then when you get it wrong, you want to, go back on it and say, oh, I thought there is no, I thought, when it comes to interviews. Please, if you didn't get the question, or you don't really understand what he means or what he's trying to say, you can ask for clarification, right? If they break it down, you'll be able to answer it well. It's better for you to do that than to answer the question prematurely, right? And then go back and say, I thought you were saying this. So, and also, this also goes into your technical and non-technical areas as well, right? So don't also ask for clarification on things that are clear already. So if they're asking you maybe a very simple question, hey, what is the difference between HTTP and HTTPS? You shouldn't ask him what is HTTPS. But that one, if you don't know, you don't know. Or if you are asking, if you want more clarification, maybe you can ask something for him to know that you understand what he's trying to say. So you can ask him if you mean like difference, is it the general difference of this one being secured, this one not being secured, or are you looking for something outside that, right? So, I mean, for such questions, then for HTTP and HTTPS, for anybody, first day in security, if we are asking about what is the difference, it's just about which one is secured and which one is not. Those ones, there is nothing even to ask about. But if it's something more on soft skills or something that is, if you're not clear on it, just simply ask. Like, I'm not going to go too much into this, into that. So now let's move on to the next tip. Structure your response. So this is where it gets a lot of people. I'm going to ask myself a question and I'm going to answer it. What SIM tools are you familiar with? Answer, Splunk. Answer, QRadar. Wrong. QRadar is a SIM tool. Splunk is a SIM tool. OSIM is a SIM tool. But if you just say Splunk, QRadar, you are just, at that point, you are shooting yourself in the foot. You are right, but you are wrong. You should structure your responses well, right? And how do you structure your responses well? All your responses should be scenario-based. Because guess what? If I'm asking you, what SIM tools are you familiar with? What do you think is going to be the next question? How did you use it? Where did you use it? In what setting? In what context? Don't wait for him to ask you all those questions or her to ask you all those questions. That is why you have to go into it with scenarios, scenario-based answers. Now, a good strategy for answering questions, interview questions, is to use the STAR method. Most of you might know this already. So situation, task, action, results. We discussed this last week, right? And this never gets old. Situation, task, action, results. This is going to get you the job. So for almost all your answers, if you can make it scenario-based, make it scenario-based. Even for questions straightforward like, what SIM tools are you familiar with? Don't just mention the SIM tool and just wait for the next question. Because at that point, it's just like you fighting in a boxing match, and then the opponent tries to hit you and you block his punch, and you are just waiting for him to hit you again. When you block, guess what you have to do? In your process of blocking, you have to also be, going on the offensive of throwing the jab. So look at it in the same view when it comes to interviews. When he asks you one question, Once you are able to block that, you block that with a big job. That way he has to rethink or move down his questions to another one, right? Skip maybe 2 or 3. Because if you wait for them to ask, answer, right, it even takes some of the confidence from you. So go in there with scenarios. What SIM tools are you familiar with? Oh, in my previous, so answer, scenario, tax action results. I think we did something similar like this last week for Cyber Chat. In my previous job, one of our clients needed to, purchase a SIM tool. So a team was put together. I was the team lead. We had 3 or 4 people in the team. We were tasked to shortlist and come up with 3 of the best SIM tools on the job market that will help our clients. So we were given a week. So see what I'm doing here. Situation, tax, what action did we take? We did our research, did our third-party risk management on 2 of the ones that we shortlisted. And then when they all checked out, now we had to. So you can also, now we get with this, guess what I've incorporated in all this? I brought in a team, right? I'm letting them know I was a team lead. I can work good in a team. I have leadership skills, managerial skills. And then also on the technical side, we were doing third-party risk management. They didn't even ask me about third-party risk management. We did third-party risk management on 3 products or 2 products that we shortlisted. Now, just that question of what SIM tools are you familiar with? I'm building a case. At the end of that case, nobody is going to tell them that I know third-party risk management. I understand security, right? And then also, so the action, we did our third-party risk management on these products. We came up with a shortlist. We presented it to the client. So now you have skills, or you are demonstrating that you know how to work with a client or communicate with clients, right? All those might be skill sets that they are also looking for in there, but they might not necessarily ask you those, but you are answering so many of the questions that they might have. And then also walking them through a project that you've actually done, right? Really let them be able to see everything that you are bringing to the table. So we presented it to the clients. So that is within, maybe if you had 2 weeks to do this, you did it within a week. So you are able to manage, you have good project management skills, right? You're able to deliver on time, even before time, right? And so the action is you came up with something, you were able to do the job, you presented to the client picked one that was, good for them in terms of maybe business-wise, in terms of money or resources, money that they had to put to this in terms of budgets, right? And the results was that they were happy with the product that you gave them. And, next time when they needed another vulnerability scanning tool, they reach out to your company to go through the same process again because they were happy with it. So you see how just one question of what SIM tool are you familiar with? Now I've answered almost half, or if not all, of the questions that they might have, right? And you're also making yourself look good in the process. Now, if they ask you more questions about, okay, so during your team, meeting, how did it go? Were you guys virtual or were you in person? Now you've seen that you've really caught some fire over there, right? You got some traction over there. Now they are more interested in your leadership and team skills, right? So hopefully everybody is getting something out of this. So that is how you answer interview questions, not yes and no, and just 1 or 2 and just go straight to the point. You have to, so with the STAR method, you are still going straight to the point without adding fluff, but you are making some key points and you are heading some keynotes there as well, right? So that also will demonstrate your problem solving, and then also will demonstrate your other skill sets that you have bringing to the table, right? And you should have different scenarios ready to go. So during the interviews, the interview time and the interview process or during the actual interview, that is not the time for you to think. It's not the time for you to think about stuff. You have to be there ready to deliver answers, scenarios. You should be well prepared, right? So the thinking that you have to do, you should do the thinking before the interview, right? If you are at the interview trying to roll your eyes and trying to remember stuff, and that is not going to cut it, right? So interview period is not the time to think. You have to think before the interview, come up with scenarios, and then also the next thing that we will look at is providing context. So just like the question that I asked, what SIM tools are you familiar with? Splunk and QRadar. Have I provided enough context here for them to know how I used it, or did I just read it from Google and I'm just telling them, right? If I use the STAR method, I'm able to provide context. Now they know for a fact that, oh yeah, of course this guy has used it, right? Or he hasn't, or she hasn't used it. Even if they've not used the tool or they've not done what you are saying you did themselves, they will know if you are bullshitting. Frankly, they will do. Like if you go to the hospital and your doctor is BS in the whole, like what he's telling you is BS, and he doesn't really seem like he knows what he's talking about. You have to have been to medical school to know he doesn't know what he's talking about. No. Same way, if you don't know what you're talking about, they don't necessarily have to have done what you say you've done. But if somebody has really done something and somebody has read about that something, and both of them have to express or like how they have to tell you about their experience, it's going to be obvious, right? Even if the one who has done it is not that articulate, it's still going to show, right? So no matter how articulate you are, if you've not done something or you've not been to somewhere and you are trying to say you've been to that place, you will try, but anybody who is really, paying attention will know that, there are some gaps, whatever you are saying, right? So provide context. Whenever possible, you have to provide context to support your answer. Explain why your response is relevant, share examples and experiences, right? So that adds more credibility to the answer you are giving. Highlight problem-solving skills. Still going straight into the STAR method. So they look at it as questions that they give you, they are just questions for you to shine, right? If you are well prepared with scenarios, you are going to shine on every single question, right? So problem-solving skills, they can ask you any question, and the example that we just went through, you can use that to, show your problem-solving skills. Now, the little problem when you go to interviews, or this is not even a problem, there are more unasked questions than asked questions. I mentioned this last week, right? There are some questions that they are not going to ask you, but they are going to infer the answers from answers that you give to questions that they asked. Right? An example, problem solving, they're not going to ask you if you're a good problem solver or demonstrate to us how you solve problems. They are not going to ask you that, right? But answers that you are giving is going to show whether you're a critical thinker, so this is where also, even with casual conversations, you'll be able to, bring out this subtly without them knowing. So you just have to, where to fit these in and where to fit like your scenarios. But scenarios, the STAR method should be used for almost everything, right? Almost everything. Now, one important key aspect of the interview is to demonstrate technical proficiency or technical knowledge. So if you're applying for a cybersecurity job, you have to demonstrate some level of, please mute yourselves. You have to demonstrate some level of technical proficiency, right? Depending on whatever job role that you are looking at, or please mute yourselves. I think this is the second time I didn't see the name, but you keep unmuting yourself. All right, so demonstrating technical knowledge or your technical proficiency. This simply what I'm going to say about this is you have to speak cybersecurity language. So use the right terminology, use the right acronyms, all right, the right words, right? And this is not Alfred. Please mute yourself. You keep unmuting yourself. So you've been muted. Please make sure you don't unmute yourself. So make sure that you are speaking the cybersecurity language. How anybody is going to know or how you are going to demonstrate your technical proficiency is to speak the language, right? So don't try to explain things without using the right terminologies and the right words, but try to explain them in your own way, right? Use the right words, the right terminology, right? So I can't think of any like really good example. So if let's say they are asking you to explain risks, right? I'm going to give you two explanations of risks. So what is your understanding of risks when it comes to cybersecurity? And the first is I'm going to try, like I'm trying to use Alfred, you are going to be kicked off if this happens again. Because this is like the fourth time. Please make sure you're muted. You've been muted like a couple of times and you keep unmuting, right? All right, so the question is, what is your understanding of risks as it pertains to cybersecurity? So I'm going to define it, or like try to explain in two ways. So the first one, I'm going to try to explain it, in my own terms. So risks is when there is a danger that tries to take advantage of a weakness within our systems. I mean, like you are there, you are making your point. The concept is okay. What if somebody is also using risks within cybersecurity? For risks to occur, there has to be threats, there has to be a vulnerability, right? Although a vulnerability is a weakness in our system, threat is a danger to our system, but you have to use the right terminology. You have to use threat, you have to use vulnerability, you have to speak the industry language for them to know you understand what is going on. And that also portrays that you are technically proficient in that space. Whether you are or you are not, if you are speaking the language, you are speaking the language. So don't try to explain things within like what I just did, trying to say weakness and danger and all that, if threats and vulnerabilities are the right words to use. Right? So using the right words and terminologies is what is going to demonstrate your technical knowledge and proficiency in the space. So regardless whether the role you're applying to is soft skills heavy, it is still a cybersecurity role. So when you're answering technical cybersecurity questions, you have to be technical. And this, I mean, don't get this also on the wrong side. To be technical in cybersecurity, there's nothing really special. You just have to know your fundamentals, right? Have a good foundational knowledge and make sure you are not skipping anything. For our cybersecurity entry-level students, we have a lesson that we call cybersecurity language, where we make you go through cybersecurity terminologies and terms and acronyms and stuff. Don't skip that and think you'll be able to explain things in your own terms, right? You have to know those offhand. Now, also for things that you have no clue about, so if they catch you off guard, you are well prepared for this interview. You have everything going on for you, and they catch you off guard with something that you have no clue about, right? So let's say you have no clue what PCI DSS is. It wasn't part of the things they are looking for or it wasn't anywhere on the job description, and they just randomly ask you, hey, are you familiar with PCI DSS, or like, what is your experience with PCI DSS? Don't say yes, you know, and then when they probe more further, only to realize that you have no clue what is going on. If they just throw that at you, just be comfortable and let them know, hey, I have no clue what that is. You know, just be frank with them. So a really good example that I give to everybody, when during one of my PCI QSA trainings, like if you want to be a QSA, during one of the in-person training that we go to, the guy who was teaching the class, right? He's been a QSA for, I think, 15 years plus. He's been in IT for almost like 20 something years. Now he's teaching the class, and then like SOC came up, right? SOC, right? You know, SOC has different meanings in cybersecurity. Everybody in the class knew both meanings of SOC. The instructor didn't know. And he didn't try to hide it. That, oh yeah, I know. For him, the only SOC he knew pertained to audits. So it was the SOC reports that we know. He didn't know it also meant we have an SOC that is a building that people work in. Right. So, and then we kept saying, no, we were saying that is not, we are not referring to the report as like, oh, is there another SOC? He didn't know, and he didn't even try to hide it or try to brush it off and make it look like he knew it. And this was the instructor for a whole QSA training, right? So how much more somebody who is new to cybersecurity and trying to switch, if you've covered everything that we've covered and still they just bring something randomly on the side and you didn't know about it. I mean, if you didn't know, you didn't know, right? So that is not going to really take anything away from you. It's only going to add to for let them to know that you are honest and you are willing to learn. And also let them always show that attitude that you are willing to learn, right? If you know very little about something, let them know, hey, this is what I know, but I'm willing to learn. Okay. All right, so we are wrapping this up. And the last two that we are going to talk about, and then we'll look at the last one, communicate effectively. So everything that we talked about, if you are following the STAR method, you are going to communicate well, and make sure you are going straight to the point. You are not adding fluff, right? So that is why if you practice, you are going to get to the point where you only go straight to the point without adding fluff. And you would have been building your skill set up to that point. Now, stay updated with cybersecurity news and what is going on within the cyberspace. The last thing you want to do, or the last thing that you don't want to do, is for them to give you a freebie, like, hey, so currently what is going on in cybersecurity? And you pull a blank on that one, right? There is so much going on in cybersecurity, you can say anything. So just before you go to any interview, at least you have one or two cybersecurity trends or news that you know about. And very important to everything else that we looked at is to practice your interview questions. Practice. That is what is going to set you apart. And for everybody else on here, if you are trying to switch into cybersecurity and you are applying for jobs, and you get interviews, treat every interview like as if your life depends on it. And it is going to pay off, right? If you are casual about it, they are also going to be casual about it and tell you they are moving on with somebody else. Right? So how serious you take it is how quickly you are going to get your cybersecurity. So that is going to be the end of how, hopefully I hope this helps a lot. Everybody on here who is trying to get into cyberspace, or even if you are within the cybersecurity space, trying to get a new job. Now, just to mention our sale or again, it is going on until the 17th. So 30% on all courses, but it only applies to one-time payment, right? I know some folks were asking. And for everybody, if you are new on here, you are trying to switch into cybersecurity, Eretmis Academy is the place to be. We have 2 free courses that you can take. Please do well and take them. If you're already even in cybersecurity or IT, I can assure you, you are going to learn something new even with the free course, right? Cybersecurity for beginners and PCI DSS for beginners. And for folks who are already in IT, who want to, specialize in an area in cybersecurity, you can try our PCI DSS for beginners course and then, enroll in one of our PCI DSS courses that are out there, right? But for career path, for folks trying to switch into cybersecurity, do our cybersecurity entry level course, which includes taking you through the knowledge piece, the skills portion, using the tools, popular tools that are out there, and then 2 months of internship. And then we do job placement assistance. So what we did is an overview to help everybody. But for our students, we go more in depth and we are more, we do more one-on-one, hands-on mock interviews and interview preps, right, with our students as well, right? So that is what we do to help the community. For our PCI training, we have an expert and specialist, right? If you are starting off, you can start with the expert, with the specialist and always upgrade to the expert, or you can just straight away start with the expert, because even the expert starts from specialist and then we'll build you up to that level, right? So I appreciate everybody's time. Our next PCI live session is going to be starting somewhere in September, but the online session is there for everybody to take. Now, the online and the live session, they go hand in hand. You can enroll now and go through the online, and then when the live session starts, you have a seat in the live session as well. And now we are going to look at questions from the family. So if you have any questions, there are some questions in the chat that we are going to look at here shortly, but you can also raise your virtual hand and we will address that. We will address any questions that you have. Okay, so these were some comments, Shell and BP, ransomware. Okay, so some questions that Captain AJ answered on here as well. I'm going to skip that. Lonnie.
Yeah, Dr. Let me help you so that you can move quick on this question. So,
okay, go ahead.
I think the first one you would like to answer is from Jack. He's asking, do you think knowledge of ChatGPT can help you achieve like success results for an interview as a cybersecurity professional?
Okay, so good question. Now, yes, ChatGPT is a good tool for you to use in terms of doing your research, right? But what I will also encourage is for interviews. So let me just break it down for everybody. Now, I'm just going to pick on somebody, anybody random. Since Kofi's hand is up, Kofi, can you, where do you live?
I live in Arizona.
Okay, so what is your street?
My street is 1255.
1255.
Yeah, North Arizona Avenue.
Like, what is the nearest Walmart to you?
The nearest Walmart is on Warner, which is a big Walmart shopping center. Yeah.
Okay. How do you get there?
By means of transportation.
No, can you walk me through if I'm driving from your house to the Walmart? Yes, yeah, briefly.
So from my house, I leave my complex. I go 2 ways to that Walmart. I can take the first street is Knox. The second is Northern Arizona. So Knox and Northern Arizona intersect. So once I get on Northern Arizona, I go and get to the next intersection, which is Warner. I make a left on Warner, and then from Warner, I pass another street that I intersect with Warner and the Walmart, which is called Pennington. And then I enter the Walmart Plaza, and I go to the Walmart and shop.
So what is the closest shop or like the closest landmark to Walmart?
The closer landmark to Walmart would be McDonald's.
Okay. And aside the McDonald's, like what other landmarks?
And then this company called Safe Light, they make they repair windshield.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kofi. So what I was trying to have everybody see was that, so Kofi just said this, everybody heard it. Even if you wrote it down, right? If I ask you the same question and you have to answer, it's not going to be as Kofi is answering because Kofi lives there. You've never lived there. Well, maybe, hopefully, nobody here is living on the street, right? Even if you wrote it down. So let's say you typed it in chat GPT and you had some answers. You are still going to miss some details, right? Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is that for things that you just have to know about, it's okay. You can just Google, do research, and so those ones you are going to talk intelligently about it, but you are not going to by any means say you've actually used it or you are an expert in it, right? But if maybe you are required to have an experience of how to use Nexus, and you Google about it or you just read or watch some YouTube video on it, that is not enough. You have to actually try and download the tool and use it. Because if you do that, then you'll be able to speak more at ease like Kofi was doing, right? And it's going to come authentic and it's going to sound like, yes, actually you've used it. And if somebody has actually used it and he's on the interview panel, they will know, right? So for research wise, yes, Google, Chat GPT, whatever tool that you want to use is good. But always ask yourself from the perspective of how is this done, not what is this, right? Don't look at it from the definition perspective, but look at it more of how is it done. So if the job description said you are going to be developing security policies and you are going to be working with maybe the DevOps team or you are going to be the security personnel who is coordinating software development with DevOps and the software engineers, ask yourself, how am I going to do this? Or if I'm there, how is this going to work, right? Not definitions of what DevOps people will do and software engineers, what they do, and they don't really want to hear that. Ask yourself, how are you going to do it? That is what they want to know. Or how have you done it in the past? So look at it from that perspective and you should.
Thank you, Dr. Edu. The next question is from Felix, and he wanted to know dress code for cybersecurity interviews.
So for dress codes, what I'm wearing, if that is your dress code, you're always going to be right. Right? Take it more seriously than the person who is even going to interview you. So a suit and a tie, or for ladies, it can be something very formal. So be formal. Don't try to go in between. Be formal and let them know you are a serious candidate.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Edu. If anyone did ask a question on the chat and I did answer them, but not too satisfied with the response, please feel free to raise your hand at this point, because we're still open for some questions. Thank you.
All right, so Kofi can go since Kofi's hand was up previously.
All right, so Dr. Edu, first, before I proceed, my style, by the way, I bought that same tie, identical one from Men's Warehouse in 2016, and I still have it. So you look sharp there. So now to my question is more of an advice that I need from you. I have a friend, just came from Nigeria recently, and then he wanted to attend a Scrum Master program. So there's a professor, I think it might be your colleague or you might hear of her in the industry, Professor Akinwumi in Maryland. So I recommended him there because I think she's a Scrum guru or product manager and stuff like that. But then she's influencing him to go towards cyber. And she told him the program will take about 8 weeks. So when he called me back, I said, I'm kind of skeptical. Cybersecurity for 8 weeks, that is not too enough. But I don't know about, do your research on that. But if you want to do cyber where I'm doing it, you can also enroll, so that is that. Now, my other question is about, now I lost my train of thought. I can't remember the main question. I may circle back, but do you have any take on the 8 weeks of a cybersecurity program?
So mostly for somebody who is just coming, if you are very new, even if the training is 8 weeks, yes, you can do that. You can do a training within 8 weeks. You can even do it within a week, right? But for you to really absorb the information and the knowledge and skill you need, it's going to take you way more than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And plus, the 8, I can't really speak really effectively to it because I don't know what is going to be the training. I don't know if they have any hands-on twist to it, or just, I really don't know what is going to go on within the 8 weeks. So you cannot say yes is good or no is bad. And plus we are not just here for business. So I'm just going to say, well, yeah, no, just come to us. I don't really know what goes into it, what content he's going to go through, right? So probably they have a really nice crash program for 8 weeks that is going to set him up for success. I might not really be able to tell, but mostly it depends on average, right? My rule of thumb is I use most. So the reason why most training in IT, they call it boot camps, is they try to mimic like the military boot camp, right? Mm-hmm. So at least 12 weeks is a good sweet point where if you want to change anybody's behavior or instill in them any skill sets, at least 12 weeks is the sweet point, right? So that is why the military can take you from civilian to like a military personnel within 12 weeks, right? So at least, by that time, they would have taken some of the civilian out of you. But still, you are probably still going to be like 60% civilian and 40% military, but still at least like they did something. But so for that, let him do his research and you can guide him, right? One, downside to doing your own research also without anybody's guidance is you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So like what is the basis or like what is the baseline for your research and what exactly are you looking for to see the best training? Mm-hmm. Right. So even for me, for people who pick us, mostly like I'm curious. So what was your decision point?
Right. Well, I told you my decision point. I follow you for almost 6 months. Then okay. I didn't make the decision until I went to Texas. The person that was supposed to link me with to train me, you had trained him. Oh. So that was when I made my decision. So okay. Because he said, "Oh, I have a friend in New York. He's more or less busy than me." I said, "Oh, really?" Then still, he didn't give me your information, but I already had your information, So I put 1 and 2 together, watched the old video. I saw him on the old video. I said, "Oh, so this is the guy that trained you." Bye.
Okay. All right, then. So we are going to move on to Omozi. If I got your name right, if I didn't, please let me know how to pronounce it. And then we go to Yaya and we go to Tony. So please go ahead.
Hey, Doctor. Is Omoze?
Omoze, okay. Omoze.
Yeah. I just had a question about the July 4th discount. I know it's still going on till the 17th. For us that applied to the June 26th cohort, are we still able to, could we use that discount even though we applied early before the holiday?
So like you made the payment before the holiday?
Mm-hmm. For the PCI June 26th cohort.
June 26th, okay. You can reach out and we will talk about that. But mostly, if it's that close, mostly like we will give you that.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Yeah, you are. Go ahead, yeah.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sia Kranti, and Mavis, one of your students, introduced me to the course. I have no clue about cybersecurity. I just read what I see, say maybe if an article is written in the Wall Street Journal or New York Times or any of the magazines that I read, that's what I know about cybersecurity. But since Mavis told me about it and gave me some basic information, I've started doing a little research. So my question is, with me, I'm just going to start right from the very bottom. What do you recommend? And also with your classes, I work 12-hour shift, Monday through Friday, or it depends. How do I go about it to get more information about the school, how it works and everything? Thank
Okay,
you.
so our website is eretmisacademy.com.
Okay.
I think maybe Captain AJ will put it in the chat. If you go on there, there are a list of courses that take our cybersecurity for beginners course first. That is a free course. That will give you some situational awareness about cybersecurity, and like what is involved in it and demand and all that. Some of the stuff which we even looked at today. Skills,
Okay.
what skill sets do we need, right, going into it? And once you're done with that, the next course will be the cybersecurity entry-level course. And the entry-level course is going to take you from where you are to where you can start working as a cybersecurity professional.
Okay.
So, and 2 months of internship and, a whole list of other stuff.
Okay. And then my next question is, now everything seems to be online. Back in the day, you could subscribe to a magazine. Like if you were in finance, you could subscribe to Fortune magazine or do they have anything like that, please?
So in terms of getting updates in the industry, yeah, there are some online journals, cybersecurity online journals and websites that you can subscribe to that they will send you. There is too many of them. You probably unsubscribe to some of it when you sign up. Now, they keep you updates. Even Nest, you can go to Nest's website and sign up, or CSI's website and sign up, and they'll keep you updated on what is going on. And also you said about the time your work schedule.
Yeah.
The entry-level course is self-paced, so with one-on-one help when needed. So you can take it at any time. So it's going to be on your own pace. And when you need help, you can always book a Zoom appointment and we will discuss any problems you have.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Tony. Tony is still muted. All right, then we'll move to Alan. Alan, go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Adu, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm great. I was wondering, so I saw positions that I'm interested in, and I know you said, we should possibly put ourselves out there, even though I'm comfortable at my current job. But can we use Eretmis or as a reference now, or should since I'm currently in the program, should I wait till I finish my intern to use Eretmis as a reference for these? It's actually a PCI DSS subject matter expert position that I wanted to apply for.
Okay, so for us, we will say wait till you finish with the internship.
Okay.
Right. So because the internship you are doing is through Eretmis Inc. Right. So once you've completed the internship and we sign off on you, then we can boldly say, yes, you were with Eretmis and this is what you can do. Okay,
so do you still suggest that I apply,
oh yeah, yes. Just for interview sake, apply, and if they do, I think for your cohort, I'm not sure if we are halfway in the internship or we are just at the very beginning. But if they do pick you, I mean, the internship is still going to help you regardless to do the actual job. So it's still going to cycle back to the same point. Right?
Okay, sounds good.
Yes.
Yeah, Doc, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Tom.
Oh, okay. I wanted to get information that you posted, the last one that was on it, on the free course and the PCI program. Can you send it to us through email or text, or we'll find it at the site?
So I'm not sure which specific one you are looking for, but we can put it in the chat. Is it for the PCI?
Yes, the one that you showed, the last slide. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The
I
first
think
one.
we can put that in the chat right now. So anybody who also is looking for similar information can.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Ike. Ike, you are still muted. All right. Ike is still muted. All right. So we are going to wrap it up. And I think Ike probably was having issues with the audio. Captain AJ, if there are no more questions in the chat, then we will wrap it up. And I think I'm not sure if there are some questions. I think all the questions on YouTube, also similar questions were answered already. So
so Dr. Edu, for Yara Cranton, I directly sent her the link for her to, be able to start the free course and everything. And there's one individual, Philip. I'm actually helping him out directly. So apart from that, there are no more questions that I see in the chart.
I do.
Go ahead, Kofi.
I do remember the question I wanted to ask you now that I forgot.
Okay, go ahead.
So over the July 4 weekend, I was talking with a friend who working in. I just met him. He works in cybersecurity, and then he said he does auditing and stuff, but he tried to make PCI DSS very negligible during the conversation. That it's just a unit. I mean, it's just a requirement. Why would you want to do that? Why don't you do audit instead? So I didn't understand when he meant that. So I said, well, I'll run this by you.
Like, what does he? So when he says ignore PCI but just do auditing, PCI is under auditing. So what is he talking about? So what does he do for the audit? So let me help you out here, and maybe probably everybody else. When we talk about cybersecurity audits or auditing or IT audits in general, you cannot just do an audit as an auditor just in a vacuum. You have to use a framework, right? So, or a standard. So are you auditing based on CIS controls, or are you auditing based on PCI DSS or HIPAA? Or like, what are you using? What framework is he using? That is talking about ignore PCI, but just go and learn auditing. Like, what auditing are you going to learn? Aside just learning the skills, the auditing skills set that you need, what framework are you really? Because every auditor is auditing based on something. ISO based on something. So like, what is he using? So ask him that, right? Because maybe probably where he is, he's probably using ISO or something else. And
he did mention using ISO. He did mention.
Yeah, so he's not familiar with or his knowledge about PCI is limited. So he cannot, all these frameworks, you cannot ignore one framework, depending on where you are and where it is needed. Good luck if you are working in a space and PCI, you are an auditor in that space, and they have to stay in compliance with PCI. You can tell your acquirer to ignore it because it's not important. Let's see how your company will be able to accept payments. Right? So, or if you work in the health industry and you are telling them HIPAA is not really important, I mean, who cares?
Yeah, I see your point. I see your point.
Why go through all that trouble of staying in compliance with HIPAA? I mean, let's just do RMF. It's not going to work that way. So it depends on where you find yourself. So maybe probably, and mostly, you know, not some folks, you know, depending on what your exposure level is and what your main understanding of what is going on is what will inform some of the things that you say, right? Because if you are an auditor and you know what goes into being an auditor, and not just maybe you just did one framework and you were lucky to get a job in that and that is all you do. You can learn auditing without learning any framework, right? So you learn a framework together with whatever auditing that you're doing. And some folks will also say they are teaching you auditing, and what they do is they will just do an introduction of all the frameworks. So just mention them and talk about what they are about and stuff. And once you're done, they'll tell you can do PCI, you can do HIPAA, you can do, which is not true. Because they are all different, they are all a beast or a whole country on their own. So maybe that is going to be my take on that one.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, so I think we had a good stopping point. We are about to wrap it up, 2 hours into it. I appreciate everybody's time. Like I always say, Friday night, you could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here. If you have any questions, any concerns, you can always reach out. Our information and details, if you just go to Eretmis Academy, you'll be able to find us. Our phone numbers are going to start here, and everybody will be able to
build a grind for 6Y.
Mute everybody. All right, so we appreciate everybody's time. We are wrapping up. See everybody next weekend, next week Friday for another cyber chat, and we will pick. We are trying to do some job placement assistant series, so we might probably go that route again because that is, you know, where we'll make our money. After the training and everything, we still need to be able to, or even before we get into it, we need that assurance that, you know, we'll be able to land the job at the end of it all, right? Because that is the ultimate goal. Aside, you know, the skills and knowledge you are gaining, being able to use that to help you and your family as a security professional, you need to get paid for this also. I appreciate everybody's time. Have a great weekend, and we will meet again next week Friday. But for all our training and courses during the week, we are going to meet during the week. Have a great evening, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adu.
Thank you.